All right. Hey everyone, welcome back to Drive It Out. As you can see, I have 4 different minivans here, and if you are shopping for one, this is going to be the video for you. Now, if you don't know, we recently released the first part of this series where we went in depth on all 4 of these minivans in one place at the Chicago Auto Show. That's where we went in depth on the interior of these vehicles, specifically the functionality of the second and the third rows. All of these minivans offer something unique and special to each of them that makes it different than the other 3. So it really comes down to what are your needs and what is your driving style. So today I'm here to finish out that series on these 4 minivans, and we are driving all 4 of them to get driving impressions. Now, as we mentioned at the Chicago Auto Show, let me remind you what we're dealing with here. We have 4 minivans. I'm going to start with the Odyssey here, okay? This is a formula Honda's had for a long time. They've perfected it just about. 3.5 liter V6 naturally aspirated. That is your only option. No hybrid option and no all-wheel drive option, but it's very smooth and good driving experience, and you're going to see that when we go on this test drive. The Toyota Sienna, what makes it unique is the only option is hybrid. Now Toyota's done hybrids for a long time, so you can have a lot of faith going with that, and it's going to be very efficient, but it's going to be a little bit less engaging to drive perhaps than another setup, but very good at what it does. Now, if you go over here to the Kia Carnival, that is our first of these 2 on the outside that offer both powertrains, right? So you can get a naturally aspirated 6-cylinder, or you can get a hybrid option. Now, the Kia Carnival that we have here today to drive is the hybrid. The Chrysler Pacifica we have here is the 6-cylinder. This has the Stow N Go seats. If you remember from the video at the Chicago Auto Show, that is a really special and unique feature. Not to have to take out any of the second and third row to make it go away, you just put it in the floor. If you are shopping for one of these, chances are you are the driver. So how these vehicles drive matter. Your driving style, the things you look for in a minivan, in a driving experience, are going to matter to you in these minivans. So let's get started. First, we're going to take the Odyssey out. We're going to go to the Sienna, the Carnival, and we're going to finish with the Pacifica. Hey there, I'm excited that you found Drive It Out. I've been doing this for over 5 years now, and it's been a blessing meeting and working alongside so many amazing people. It's been a lot of fun driving so many awesome vehicles. Whatever type of vehicle you are interested in, chances are we have a video for that. So if you'd like to subscribe and maybe even hit the notification bell, that would absolutely mean the world to me. If there's something you're looking for that you don't see, feel free to reach out in the comments or send me a message on Instagram. Now, back to the video. All right, everyone, I am driving the 2025 Honda Odyssey Elite. Now, you will remember in our video where we were comparing all of the minivans at the Chicago Auto Show, remember what I mentioned is unique about the drivetrain on the Honda Odyssey is your only option is that 3.5 liter V6, right? It's that naturally aspirated V6 from Honda, but it revs so smooth. It feels so good. It's so nice to drive. Remember, when you are choosing your minivan and you're choosing your powertrain, you want something that is going to be good to drive because you're going to spend a lot of time behind the wheel. Now, my first impressions in the interior of this Odyssey, now this is an Elite. It's very good. I like the use of materials. The way they've kind of broken up the different materials on the dash is quite nice. I'm really enjoying the two-tone. I don't always like two-tone in an interior, but I really think that it works well in here, and it's a nice contrast to the black exterior. So I can't get over, though, I love the feature where you can check the camera to check on your passengers in the back of the vehicle. That is kind of nice to have. And you also have that cabin talk feature where you as a driver can kind of be in your normal voice and you can speak, keep facing forward and speak to the people in the very back of the vehicle. That's a really nice feature. But I really want to focus on the way that this drives. The transmission is excellent. This is the 10-speed automatic transmission from Honda, and it is paired to that V6 that I talked about. Now you can go for a hybrid elsewhere. You're going to get more fuel efficiency going with a hybrid in another minivan, but this still gets good fuel efficiency for what it is, and I really think you're going to enjoy the driving experience because the transmission and the engine are going to respond in a way that makes sense to you and the inputs that you're giving it. So if I want to get on it just a little bit here, that's about half pedal. The vehicle does exactly what I expect it to do. I'm going to have good passing power even in mid-range, so I'm already rolling and I've got to pass somebody, so I throw down and I make a maneuver. It's very predictable. That V6 is going to get right in its power band and it's very smooth. Out of all four of the minivans, this one is by far my favorite to drive in a situation where I'm going to be changing speeds a lot, right? So once you get kind of out and cruising on the highway, you know, that's one thing, because once you get going, all of these minivans are really good at going, just grinding through miles on, for instance, like a road trip. They're all relatively quiet from a ride standpoint. But if you are in a situation where you're going to be changing speeds a lot, so perhaps you're driving on 2-lane highways around somewhere, perhaps you're even going into the mountains, this by far is my favorite choice for that. So think about what kind of driving that you do, whether it's mixed driving or whether maybe you just have a commute or a route that you always do where you just get on the highway, and once you're on it, you're just going through tons of miles, and once you get off the highway, you don't go very far, you know, and it's interstate miles. Then maybe something with a hybrid is going to be better for you. But if you are around town, if you live in an area with lots of hills, and again, anywhere where you're going to be changing speeds a lot, I really challenge you to go test drive the Honda Odyssey and put it in those situations, because it's really, really excellent to drive in the minivan segment. When it comes down to test driving the minivans, I really want you to think about what your experience is going to be like in this seat for you. It's going to be great for your passengers. You're going to have the room. They're going to have great amenities. I love it. I'm here in the Elite. I've got heated seats. I've got cooled seats. I have an infotainment system that is easy to use. It makes sense. I've got a good volume knob. I've got a few buttons up here. It's not all just in the touch screen, and it's just it's an easy driving experience to get in and get your bearings and just go. Okay everyone, so this here is the 2025 Toyota Sienna Platinum. Now, if you don't know, we've mentioned before that what separates this from the other minivans is the only powertrain you can get in this is a hybrid. Now, this is Toyota. They've been doing hybrids for a long time. So again, here you've got a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder paired to that electric motor. Now, when we drove the Honda, I really praised its ability to be very easy to drive. You always are in the power band and you know what to expect. The car responds to you in a very smooth way. But what that car cannot do is what this setup does here. This hybrid setup is great for a couple things. One, obviously, is fuel efficiency. It's nice to drive when it's in EV mode only. I have been on some neighborhood streets and some back roads around here and been able to stay in EV mode quite a bit, and that is excellent. Now, when you do have to kick the gas motor in, it is a little bit of a different story. You do hear that 4-cylinder come in, and it's going to provide a little bit more of a soundtrack than perhaps that naturally aspirated non-hybrid setup in some of these other vehicles. But I really like the Sienna. I like the styling, right? This again is a Platinum, so it's a very high trim level, but they've done a good job here with the two-tone interior, and I love this exterior color. So if you are shopping for a minivan, this is definitely one that you should consider. So I'm still in EV only mode, and I'm going about 15 miles an hour. There we go. You can feel that engine kick in. Right when I went to go up to 20, that engine kicked in to help things out. But you've got a nice little animation here on your gauge cluster that's telling you what's going on with the battery and the powertrain. But at low speeds, this is really good. Now, this is the Platinum. This is all-wheel drive. I do want to remind you about that as you're driving this thing around. Maybe you live somewhere where you're thinking all-wheel drive is really important to me. So for example, the Honda doesn't even offer all-wheel drive, right? But you can get all-wheel drive in the other three. Now I'm dealing with some speed bumps here, but again, you've got that nice long wheelbase that comes with a minivan, and so it helps with absorbing those, right? But I will say, while this feels nice to drive, it feels heavy to drive. And that's gonna come from that hybrid setup. You definitely feel like you're pulling a little more weight around. So if you're sensitive to that feeling, I want you to think about that. All right, now when I'm taking off, I can feel, when I take off, I can really feel the two sides of this vehicle dealing with each other. And they do it pretty well, the EV side and the gasoline side. But what also you're gonna get here is an eCVT transmission. So it's electronically controlled, continuously variable transmission. What all that means is you're not going to feel shifts necessarily. And that provides a completely different driving experience. So when you mash the gas, you will kind of feel more of a mushy adjustment from the vehicle to go down and give you more power, as opposed to something with a real automatic transmission like you can find in the other minivans. So I do want you to think about that, the way this drives. But again, if you are going to be driving a lot of low speed stuff and then getting on the highway and cruising, this could be fantastic. If you are looking for any engagement feeling at all with the powertrain, this is probably not the vehicle for you. Now see, when I have to go down and get some passing power, it's there, but it doesn't feel quite like the passing power of something like that Kia Carnival with that V6, or the Odyssey with that V6, or the Pacifica with that V6. So a couple things of note in here. I have a digital rear view mirror, right? So it's providing me a view out the back that doesn't, it's not natural, so I don't see the headrests or anything behind me, and that there are pluses and minuses to that. The view spectrum on that mirror is really good. But sometimes when you transfer back and forth between the natural world and the digital screen, it kind of takes a minute to adjust. Maybe that's just my eyes. But also, every time I come to a light, the cameras in this vehicle kind of show me views forward of the vehicle of how close I am to the vehicle in front of me when I'm stopping behind someone at a light. So if I stop at a light and I kind of creep up on them, you will get a view of that on the camera here on the center screen. Props to Toyota for still having a real shifter. I like that, I prefer that. I can grab it, feel it, push the button, go to the gear I want without ever looking at it to see if I'm putting in a dial in the correct position or whatnot. I can totally go by feel for that shifter, and I like that. That feels natural to me, especially when I'm switching back and forth in a parking lot from going forward or reverse. Now again, when I get on the road and get on it here, the hybrid powertrain is definitely wanting to give you efficiency a lot more than it's wanting to give you performance. It's pretty quiet in here. That engine is a little noisy, but that kind of comes with the territory with a hybrid system. Anytime you have to kick that 4-cylinder in to help. Okay, so I'm interested to know what you think about the Sienna. Where this is going to shine is if you have a commute that has a lot of low speed stuff around town, a lot of stoplight to stoplight commuting, you know, stop and go traffic, things like that. You're going to get a lot out of this vehicle because you're going to be able to stay in EV mode a lot. And then when you get out on the highway and you're just cruising down the interstate in a straight line, you're going to get pretty good efficiency. So if that sounds like your world, your commute, you really should look at the Toyota Sienna. Toyota has been doing the hybrid thing for a very long time, and they've been doing the minivan thing for a very long time. So do not overlook the Toyota Sienna because it definitely has some bright spots if it is the vehicle for you. All right, everyone, may I introduce to you the 2025 Kia Carnival. Now this is the hybrid SX prestige. So you have the hybrid powertrain, but you've got that prestige trim level here. And if you have seen our comparison video from the Chicago Auto Show, where we go in detail about the insides and the workings on the interiors of all four of these minivans, you may remember that I really liked the interior on the prestige trim level of the Kia Carnival. It is excellent. There's no other word for it. It is superb. Remember, this is offered in the V6 as well as the hybrid trim, so you kind of have the option of both worlds here, whereas with the Honda Odyssey, remember, you only get one option, that's the V6, no hybrid option and no all-wheel drive option. With the Toyota Sienna, you only have a hybrid option, and then you get here and you now get to choose between both worlds for the first time. So now this hybrid setup is a 1.6 liter four-cylinder, so it's quite a bit smaller than the four-cylinder in that Toyota. But where it differs here is this one is actually paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, so no CVT here like you had in that Toyota, and that is definitely going to make the driving experience different. So again, we are focusing on what these are like to drive. So let's go for a ride in this brand new Kia Carnival. I'm anxious to get inside and sit inside this awesome interior. All right, let's go for a drive in the Kia Carnival. First off, it's got a dial shifter, which is not my favorite. They're a little harder to do through feel. You kind of have to look and make sure you go into the gear that you want. So again, I can forgive that if it drives really well. So again, we are in the hybrid version, and I can already tell that I like the way that it responds to my inputs more than I like the way the Sienna responds to my inputs, as it is a hybrid. Part of that is going to be the fact that there is a 6-speed real automatic transmission on this. It is not a CVT. That helps in my book. Now again, if you're going to be doing low speed stuff, and you may not ever care about that CVT, but when you need to give it a little more oomph, a little more push, when you need to get out of somebody's way really quick, or you need to pass somebody, that is where you may not be quite a fan of the CVT, and you may kind of lean towards something that is geared a little more from a sporty standpoint, which this Carnival definitely feels that way. Now, it can definitely be efficient, very much so, but I think the way that they've married the gasoline part of the powertrain with the electric part feels a little more natural to my driving style here in the Kia. All right, now we're gonna get out here on the road a little bit here in the Kia. I will say I've got my left blinker on, and it is providing me that view of my blind spot on my left side. Since I have that left blinker on, that's kind of nice what they've done. They've put it right there in the gauge cluster in front of the driver. Now, speaking of gauge clusters, I do like this one a little bit more than the one in the Toyota as well, because it kind of provides more of that crisp view, the white on black. All right, let's get on it a little bit here. Now, when you ask more of this engine when you're at high speed, it's a little bit more predictable in what it's going to do for you. So I'm cruising in this thing, and if I want to go to pass somebody or use some passing power, right now I'm using 0 RPMs of the gas motor, right? But as soon as I need to wake it up and do something, I will, and it goes and grabs the right gear, the gear that I wanted, and I can pass with confidence, more confidence than I could in the Toyota. I like the steering rack on this Kia. You know, for a minivan, I'm sitting here, I've got a little bit of a smaller feeling steering wheel, and there's good buttons on here, by the way, for your controls. They've got good texture to them. They're going to be easy to memorize, but I like the way that the wheel feels in my hand in this car. It feels, I know it's not sporty because it's a minivan, but it feels a little more like it's geared toward engagement for the driver. It feels sure in my hands, and the steering ratio on this vehicle makes sense to me. So again, I would be very curious to drive the Carnival with the 6-cylinder. I can tell you that it's most likely going to provide you more of that linear feel and power delivery that you would get from the other minivans in this video that have the V6. So when you go to hybrid, it's great for efficiency, but it becomes kind of tricky with power delivery, right? And when they're designing it and designing the EV side of things and the gasoline side of things to talk to each other and deal with each other, that's something that really takes paying attention to, and you want to tweak things just right in order to inspire confidence for the driver. And I feel a little bit more confidence when driving this thing than I do the Sienna, especially in a situation where I'm having to get on it. Okay, I'm giving it about half pedal here going up this hill, and the engine and the transmission seem pretty competent in knowing what I'm asking it for. And I enjoy that. I look for that in a vehicle. So again, when you're shopping these 4 minivans, you may first need to think about what powertrain you want. Do I want a hybrid or do I not want a hybrid? And if you don't want a hybrid, well, then you can immediately take one of these out of your decision-making process, because the Toyota only comes in a hybrid. But if you decide, I do want a hybrid, well, then you take the Honda out because it does not offer a hybrid. So, but I am applauding Kia and Chrysler for offering both powertrains in their vans, because it does give the customers more choice. You may be looking for something different depending on your driving style. Now, this 1.6 liter engine is quite small compared to the Toyota, which had the 2.5. It's kind of hard to get excited about a 1.6 liter motor on its own, standalone. So the idea of having the 2.5 in the Toyota, I really like. While noisy, it's a good motor. But the little 1.6 in this, I don't find it quite as buzzy sounding as that Toyota 4-cylinder did. All right, everyone, let's wrap things up here on the Kia Carnival. Remember, we talked about the details of the interior on this vehicle in the other video, right? Second and third row, how those function. And there are some really cool features in here. Don't forget about that reclining second row seat with the footrest that comes up. That is super awesome. But if you are looking for a little bit of a balance of some hybrid efficiency, but also still maintaining a little bit of performance, this may be the way to go. I like the Kia Carnival. Again, it's got pluses and minuses like all 4 of these minivans do for me. But the thing that I really like about this is the fact that it has that excellent interior. That interior is a great place to be. It's a great place to hang out in if you have a commute, and maybe you want to think about that when you're thinking about how much time you're going to spend in here. All right, guys, thank you so much for making it this far through 3 of the minivans. We've got 1 more to go. Let's go drive the Chrysler Pacifica. All right, guys, as you might notice, I'm in a little bit of a different spot for this last one. That sun has moved on me. Regardless, here we are with the Chrysler Pacifica. And what I want to tell you about this final vehicle is, first of all, if you have watched our other video comparing the interiors of these things, that Stow N Go seating is second to none. That is very cool. And actually, here at this event, they've been having a competition to see who can take a bunch of stuff out of the vehicle and stow and go all the seats and put it in and move things around and do the Stow N Go seats. It's been like a little race, and it's been fun to watch journalists go after that and try to do that. But truly, this vehicle is unique with that setup back there. But again, let's talk about what this is going to be like to drive. There are some specific things about this minivan that I really like, and they kind of all have to do with the driving experience. First off, this one here is the V6. This is a 3.6 liter V6 paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission. So again, here we have a real automatic transmission like the Honda and like the Kia. But with that 6-cylinder, again, I'm going to harp on it again, good, predictable, linear power band when you are driving the vehicle. If you are sick of hearing me harp on that, I'm telling you, if you drive these vehicles back to back, you will notice there's a difference in the way that each of them deliver power, and this goes to your driving preferences. Now, with the V6 in this one, There is no hybrid powertrain. You have room for those Stow N Go seats. Let me remind you that if you get the hybrid version of this vehicle, you cannot get the Stow N Go seats because they've got to put that battery under the floor. So this one, yes, is available in hybrid, but you do lose that kind of extra unique option. Now remember, Chrysler will remind you, they started the minivan game many decades ago, right? And they're still here, so they know what they're doing with this. And this particular minivan, the latest Pacifica, is still great to drive, and there's some things about it that kind of are a nod to and let you know that, like, hey, we've done this before, we know how to play the minivan game, and we're really good at it. And there's little quirks about it that kind of tell you that when you're driving it. I'm anxious to show you that, so let's get out on the road. I'm going to tell you what this thing is like to drive. Now, first thing right off the bat I like about this is the V6 in this feels really good to drive. It's very responsive at low speeds, and then you get up to high speeds and the power is good, I will tell you that. So when I start pushing that right pedal, it's ready to go, and the engine sounds good. I like that the engine has a little bit of a growl here on the Pacifica. Maybe that's not something at all you care about in the minivan. Let me assure you, it's not like overwhelmingly loud. You're not going to wake the neighbors up when you start it or anything like that. It's not a hot rod, but when you are driving it, you can hear it, and you can hear that it's responding. So let me tell you the second thing that I really like about the Pacifica, and I think there is probably quite a few people who would not agree with me. I don't care. I really like these gauges. Now, this is a 2025 and it's a very high trim level vehicle. You would think, oh, it's going to have a digital gauge cluster. It doesn't. It has analog gauges. Not only does it have analog gauges, but they are very good to look at. It is kind of difficult to go with an extreme color on some analog gauges and it be okay. And they've done it here. These are beautiful blue gauges. They are great to look at, and when you glance down, you know exactly what you're doing, and you look right back up, eyes on the road, and you still have a good digital screen in the middle. It's going to show you your speed digitally if you want that, right? But the analog gauges that it's maintained on the sides, I think are excellent. I personally like a really good set of analog gauges in front of my eyes. And today, it's a lot easier for a lot of auto brands to just give you a screen, give you digital, and yeah, you can customize them and make them look all different kinds of ways sometimes. And you know, you change drive modes in a vehicle, and the gauges change colors and all that stuff. I mean, that's great. I mean, like, that's cool, but I really like a really good, solid looking set of gauges. Think about it like this. Think about a really good looking watch, all right? That smartwatch that you have is gonna be somewhere that you don't even care or know about in a few years. It may be lost somewhere in a box in your house, and you're not gonna care because you got a new smartwatch, right? Think of a really sharp, really good looking analog watch, right? And all the watches that are worth a lot of money these days are all that way, because they're aesthetically pleasing to look at, and of course because of their movements and the way they function. So this is kind of like, and I'm getting nerdy here, it's just the minivan and it's just gauges, but analog gauges are kind of like that. If you can do really good looking analog gauges, you can get buyers that buy your vehicle and look at them and are never going to have a thought like, oh, I wish they would update those to a screen. If they're good and they're done well, you're never going to have people think that. And I would prefer to keep these analog gauges that are on this Pacifica. They are very good looking. There are some analog gauges that don't look good. These look good. All right, I'm done talking about the gauges because some of you just simply may not care. I like them. So you still get good tech in here, all right? When I say there are some old school things about some of these minivans, this is a great example. You can have analog gauges, but you still have great new modern tech over here. The way that they do the screen over here is excellent, okay? Chrysler, Stellantis, the corporation has done some really good infotainment recently, and this is no exception. Now, one of the things that makes it great is it's specific to just doing the functions you want to do in the screen, mainly while you've kept the HVAC out of the screen. I love that. They've kept it out. They've kept it down here with the buttons. I get in the Pacifica, I go to drive it for the first time, and I'm instantly wanting to adjust the air and whatnot, and it's so easy for me to figure out. I glance down once and I got it, and I'm adjusting things, right? I've had other minivans, the Kia is really bad about this. The controls are not simple, and you're driving down the road and you're like, I'm hot or I'm cold, I forgot to adjust things, and you're having to do a lot of looking down to figure out, how do I adjust all this? Because it's either touch screen or it's haptic feedback and not a real button or something of that nature, and that is terrible. That's a huge turnoff for me. So if you can keep good buttons in here, especially for important things like your HVAC and your volume, and I have a volume knob and a tuning knob and all my HVAC buttons, it's awesome. My auto start stop button is physical here, my traction control button, all of that is great. Now, do have a dial shifter. So again, there are pieces of each of these 4 minivans that I would love to take and put together and make my own super minivan, right? And you know, I would take the shifter out of that Toyota Sienna because I like a good manual shifter. And this interior on this Pacifica is honestly a good manual shifter away from being just right for me and exactly what I like inside of an interior, because it's good, it's functional, it's easy to figure out, it's easy to just get in and drive and use. All right, the other thing I'm gonna say, this V6 responds really well to driving. You knew I was gonna say it. So my inputs on this are excellent. If I wanna go down and get passing power, it doesn't feel like it's confused. It doesn't feel like the transmission doesn't want to do it, but it's reluctantly allowing you to have power. It's none of that. If you want to go down and get power, this engine and this transmission are like, okay, let's go down and get power and pass somebody. So I'm cruising along here at 40 miles an hour, and I'm coming up on somebody, oh, I would like to pass them really quick. I'm going to look over, signal, put the power down. Oh, it's solid. It responded exactly how I knew it would, even though this isn't the car that I own and drive every day. I knew how it was going to respond because I can tell from just driving it for a few minutes the way the transmission and the engine work together. Having something predictable is really important. So again, I'm going to wrap this thing up with all 4 of these minivans, but I really want you to think about how they drive, because you are the one who's going to be driving these all the time. And when you think about all the technology and all the safety systems these vehicles have, they've got everything from adaptive cruise control to airbags all around the place, and collision impact warnings and automatic emergency braking, and all of those things, yes, make it safer, but something that is a safety factor you may not be thinking about is how controllable is the vehicle. And for you as a driver, if you are suddenly find yourself in an emergency stopping situation or emergency accelerating situation, right? And that starts with its predictability and how it feels. So this vehicle does not feel heavy for a minivan to drive around. That regardless of what it weighs, it doesn't drive heavy. The power delivery is good. I want my power to be predictable because I'm going to be able to safely put myself in the spaces on the road and in traffic that I want to be, and I'm going to be able to put myself there when I want to put myself there. And that is exactly what I'm looking for in a powertrain. And guess what? I'm in something that drives well like that, and I can still load everybody up back there. Or I can hide all the seats in the floor and say, I ain't taking none of y'all anywhere. That's kind of cool. Got the Stow N Go seating with the Chrysler. But let's think about how all these drive, think about your driving style, and let's go wrap things up on this 4 minivan series. All right, everyone, let's wrap things up here on our 4 minivan comparison. I hope this is helpful to you and has been valuable to you if you are shopping these vehicles. Now, each one of them, again, has their own unique traits, but what are you specifically looking for? Again, I will say it, they're minivans. You're gonna be able to put all the stuff and load all the people and things in there. They're all really good with storage and cubbies. Some of them provide unique ways and places to store things. Think about the cool box, that refrigerator box in the Toyota Sienna. That is a unique thing. Also, think about the unique thing that the seats do in that highest trim level of the Kia Carnival, right? Being able to recline in those seats. Think about those magic seats in the Honda Odyssey, right? They can slide left to right all the way across that track from one side of the vehicle to the other, and can make getting in and out of the third row better. You can do unique things with that. That's excellent. And don't forget about the Stow N Go. It is now 20 years. Chrysler is celebrating 20 years of the Stow N Go seats with this vehicle, and being able to put them in the floor is very valuable. Now again, sometimes you only get one powertrain option, as with these two middle ones, right? But the two on the outside, again, you get two powertrain options. What are you looking for? What is your driving style? I hope that this video and me talking about what they're like to drive has been valuable to you. If you haven't watched our video at the Chicago Auto Show, where I went in depth on the interior of all four of these vehicles, specifically the functionality, please go watch that video. I will put that at the end of this video. I'll put it up, and I will also put the link in the description, so check that out. Prior to this, we have not had a whole lot of minivan content on our channel, but I have been asked for it, as in demand. This is a vehicle, if you're buying it, you're thinking about utility, right? You're thinking a lot of different factors, from storage to how they are to drive, what your usage is going to be. Guys, you've got a lot going on in your world probably if you are buying a minivan. Good news is there are four great options. Genuinely, there are things about each four of these that I like a lot. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to remind you that we are on Instagram at DriveItOut. I am personally on Instagram at Naturally Aspirated Adam. You can find some of my more obscure car stuff there, my travel stuff, you know, my adventure stuff over there. I have a family. I have 2 kids and a wife. I know what it's like to have the needs of a vehicle that can do all of the things that you need it to do, and go on adventures and road trips and fit everybody and make everybody comfortable and happy and have good tech. And I know what that's like to desire those things. So if you are shopping here, I really, again, I hope this has helped you out greatly. So thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. We do lots of in-depth reviews on lots of different vehicles, with lots of test drives, and we do walk-around reviews at some of the biggest auto shows in the United States. Also, special thank you to TAWA, that is the Texas Auto Writers Association, for this event, inviting me to this event. There are great vehicles here to drive. It's a beautiful spring afternoon here in Texas, and being able to drive all of these vehicles in one day has been absolutely stellar. So thank you to Kia for bringing the Carnival and other great vehicles here. Thank you so much to Toyota for bringing the Sienna, Honda, the Odyssey, and Chrysler, the Pacifica. They've all showed up big. We really appreciate them coming to this event. It really means a lot. So check out our other reviews from this event, and I will see you guys next time. I also want to mention that amongst the minivans, this one has a pretty simple gauge cluster, but I actually like that. So for example, I'm driving into the sun right now, and the nice black and white contrast on the gauges, it makes them crisp and easy to read. Very quick look, glance down and back up, and you don't get lost in looking for the information that you're looking for down there. Sometimes these new digital gauge clusters can be a little much because they have a little too much going on. So when you drop your eyes just for a moment, it becomes a little bit more difficult to find exactly what you're looking for and get your eyes back up on the road. So sometimes simple is the best answer. They've done something here that is nice and simple with the gauges, and I actually really appreciate that.